blade and quill.
Hello everyone, today I am going to show you how to create a vector graphic image from scratch. I will show you first how to use the tools, then I will demonstrate you how to create this cute little beetle bug using some of the tools and techniques I personally use. Before to continue, I would like to update you on a very important matter. Last week's video triggered some interesting conversations in the Krita's forum. 3 people commented on my errors and added some advice and inputs. Since the conversation was long and technical, I put it together in a PDF file. Please click on the link I have added in the description. It will take you to this page on my website. Click on the green button that says Get your PDF here. A PDF document will appear in a new tab. You can download, save or print it by using the buttons located in the top right corner of your screen. The information is gold, so make sure to get it. That said, please accept my apologies for providing you with incomplete information. Alright, enough talking, let's get started. First, we need to create a new layer above this existing paint layer. Click on the arrow right next to the plus sign button to get to the menu. And here we are going to choose Vector Layer. You can mirror your strokes on a paint layer. You cannot do so on a vector layer. Here on the paint layer, I can select all the shapes I created and hit the delete button to clear the canvas. Now let me do a Ctrl+Z to undo this. Another way to clear the canvas is to click on the layer and hit the delete button. Now let's get to the vector layer. I cannot do either ways. So how do I clear the canvas? To clear the canvas, click on the Select Shapes tool icon and drag your mouse to select all the shapes. Now you can hit the delete button. As you already know, you can use all the brushes on the paint layer. The freehand brush, the dynamic brush and the multi-brush. However, when you are on a vector layer, you cannot use any of them. Every time you try, you will see this message. This brush tool cannot paint on this layer. Please select a paint layer or mask. You will mostly use the 7 shape tools to create your vector images. The line tool, the rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, the polygon tool, the polyline tool, the Bezier curve tool, and the freehand path tool. Use these 2 icons to edit the shapes. The Select Shapes tool and the Edit Shapes tool. So let's make an ellipse shape. Now let's go to the Select Shapes tool icon, and when you click on it, everything is grayed out. You have to first click somewhere on the canvas, but here if you click outside your shape, nothing will happen. You can click on the shape line or inside the shape, and now as you can see we have a box that is appearing right around the shape, and now the functionalities are turned on. So you can move your shape, you can resize your shape, and in order to resize proportionally, don't forget to hold the Shift key while you are resizing your shape using the corner nodes. Finally, to rotate your shape, step away from the shape a little and you will see our famous two arrows. When the arrows appear, you can rotate your shape. You will notice three tabs. Let me show you a few things here. As you will practice creating vector shapes, you will also notice that you won't use most of the functionalities. So let's just focus on the main ones for now. The only thing that I use in the first tab is the opacity slider. In the second tab, you can do a few interesting things. You can change the color of your outline. So just click here to get to the window. You can use the color swatches or the color wheel. You can change the thickness of your lines. And you can change the styles of your lines. Now if you click anywhere on the big color wheel, the shape will fill with the color you have selected. Now let's say that you don't want to keep the outline and you just want to keep the color, the fill color. You will click on this icon to remove the outline. Finally, if you right-click on your shape, a menu will appear with different vector shapes actions. The third tab will allow you to fill your shapes with solid colors or gradient colors. You can choose your solid color right here. And just like before, use the color swatches or the color wheel. You can also go directly to the bigger color wheel and make your selection right there. To remove the filling, use the first icon. To get back to the fill color, you will just click on the second icon. Now you will notice something interesting here. If you click on the gradient icon, the gradient that is going to appear is whatever gradient is showing in the toolbar right there. It is not going to create a gradient of the color you just selected before. Now you can change the gradient here. You can flip the gradient by clicking on this icon. And you can do some more tweaking using the sliders. You can change the color at the end of your gradient. Finally, use this slider to change the opacity of your gradient. Moving on to the Edit Shapes tool. When you click on the icon, you will notice that your cursor changes. It looks like a thin pointy arrow. First thing first, if you drag the little corner node, and they use the term node in Krita's manual, I checked, so I hope I got that term right this time. Anyway, so if you drag that little node, you can round the corners of your rectangular shape. To make further changes, click on the Convert to Path button. Now this is where the fun begins. Just experiment with all the different buttons available and just see what you can do. Now I am going to read directly from the manual because this was a little hard for me to translate from French to English, so please forgive me for doing that. So these are path shapes options. The top left options are for converting to different anchor point types, they say. The bottom left options are for adding or removing points. The top right options are for converting the line to different types. And the bottom right options are for breaking and joining line segments. Let's look at another example. You can go along with me if you'd like. Create an ellipse shape. Go to the Edit Shapes tool icon and click on it. Click anywhere at the center of the shape to activate the functionality. In the drop-down menu, select the first action called Arc. Move the node around and stop at any time. This way you are only creating part of an ellipse. To close the shape, click on Close Ellipse. Go back to the drop-down menu and this time select Pi. Grab any of the two exterior nodes to edit your shape. To close the shape, click on Close Ellipse. Go back to the drop-down menu and this time select Chord. This time, grab the only node you see and move it slowly until you have 3 nodes. Now you can edit your shape. To close the shape, click on Close Ellipse as usual. And now we are going to make further changes. For that, we need to click on Convert to Path. We are now ready to create our little beetle bug. So as you can see, what I did first is I created a sketch on a paint layer. The only thing I have to do now is decrease the opacity of that paint layer and create a new vector layer on the top. So let me zoom in first, like that you can see better. We are going to grab the freehand path tool to draw. Don't worry if it's not perfect, we are going to edit the shape, okay? So now go to the Edit Shapes tool, and using the different little nodes and paths, you are going to edit your shape and make it look as close as you can as from the sketch below. Just take your time and just move the nodes little by little. When you create a vector image, it's very important to take your time. Now we're going to go back to the freehand path tool and we are going to draw the second part of the antenna. Now we are going to use the select shape tool to move the shape. Back to the edit shapes tool again to make more changes, moving the nodes. Back to the select shapes tool to rotate and move again. So basically it's a game of back and forth between the two tools if you think about it. Alright, we are going to rename our layer. You can rename it anything you want, like maybe the right antenna. And of course, because I'm French, I wrote antenna right. Backward. You're going to make a copy with a Ctrl+J and you're going to rename the copied layer. And using the move tool, or just type T on your keyboard, you're going to move that shape. You could also use the Ctrl+T to move the shape also. Now we are in the transform tool with a Ctrl+T and we are going to flip the image. And when the image has been flipped, we are going to rotate and move the left antenna into place. Alright, now it's time to create a new vector layer. We are going to create basically a new layer for each leg and then make a copy of that layer so it will go faster. So you start all over again. You're going to first rename the layer. And you're going to go back to your tracing tool. And then you're going to make the changes that you need or continue tracing. Sometimes it's a good idea to separate the two parts, like that you can make your changes without being disturbed by the other part because something is hiding beneath another line, you see. And then after that you just regroup them again. Alright, so I had my group, I turned it off and now I create a new vector layer. Now you can see the group. You can maybe decrease the opacity of your group if you want to see better when you trace the other parts of the body. We're going to use the Bezier curve. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to move this and make it fit better under the antenna. I may have to go back to one of the antenna and move them. So as you can see, as you create a layer for each part of the body, then it's easier to move them and edit them, and you don't want to put everything on one layer. It's a bad idea, because after that we are going to merge everything when we're done at the end. Okay, so let's create a new vector layer and let's keep going. So I'm going to speed a little the video and I will see you when it's time to color. So now we are ready to color. We are going to go back to one of the antenna and start with one of the antenna. Go to the select shapes tool, and this is where you're going to fill in the third tab. This is where we're going to fill the area with our paint. So just select a color and go to the next shape and do the same. And that's as easy as it is. Go through every layer and every shape and just fill them with a color of your choice. Now I understand that a beetle is not the color that I'm about to paint, but remember it's a cartoon. Beetles are not red, or maybe some of them are in exotic countries, but I have no idea. I just made those very vivid colors for you to see better. That's the only reason why I did that, okay? So I'll continue coloring. So now you are going to have to save and export this, right? So let me turn off the sketch first. And what we need to do is that we are going to group everything. So hold the Shift key and click on every layer to group. You're going to also group the group, okay? And we're gonna say Control G, and a new group is going to happen. So let's just name it Bug, all right? And we are going to make a copy of this, so Control J to make a copy. The original, we are going to turn it off and we are going to lock it. You should always have a copy for your archives like that. If something goes wrong, you can always go back to it. So now the only thing left to do is to merge the group with the Control E. We are ready to save. To save your vector layer, go to the Layer tab, go down to Import Export, and choose Save Vector Layer as SVG. Now the very funny story. I do vectors mostly on Adobe Illustrator, so I am used of saving my vectors a different way. And when I started to work with Krita, I had to go on the forum and ask for help because I had no idea how to save my vector. I could not find the way how to do it. I was like, this is ridiculous. Where do you save your vector? Because I will go as File and Save As, right? But there was no SVG. I got very upset, and finally I went to the forum and somebody came to my rescue and told me how to do this. I will not lie to you guys, I had no idea how to do this before. Hey, never be ashamed of not knowing something, just, you know, learn, smile and laugh about it and keep going. Alright, so now if I was to open Adobe Illustrator, I will just have to find my file and it will open in Adobe Illustrator, and I think it's going to also open in Inkscape. And we are done. Next week I am starting a new series of tutorials on brushes, so make sure to check it out. I'll see you next Monday. Until then, have a great and successful week, and as we say in French, à bientôt. Bye.